Hello everyone, welcome to Pisotech. In the previous video, we learned two passages related to closet test and how to solve the questions we just saw. So in this video, we're going to solve the next two passages there in the close test. So let's begin. Okay, so the directions for the closed test, there will be a passage and it will have multiple blanks and four answer choices for each blank. Out of these four options, select the word which might be the most appropriate one for the blank space. So let's start with the question. Okay, so we have the passage one. Each species has its special place or habitat, and the first blank. Bird watcher can look at blank forest, meadow, lake, swamp or field and blank almost exactly what birds he blank find there. Blank. Birds are found all over the world, others blank denses to certain areas, still blank migrate from one country to another in blank in search of warmth and blank and then return in spring blank the season is more favorable. So here in this passage they're talking about birds, there is a bird watch over here, they're talking about seasons, they're talking about um, all the necessary essentials that's there in our nature. So let's see what are the options that can fill into these blanks. Starting with first one. Each species has its special place or habitat and dash birdwatcher can look. So and dash birdwatcher, let's see the options. So we have expert, experienced, advanced and active. So the suitable one we will never call an active bird watcher or an advanced or an experienced bird watcher. It's the more suitable word is expert because an expert bird watcher can look at because we have all these details over here forest, meadow, lake, swamp or field. So it is he has to be an expert bird watcher. So and yes, the answer is expert. So I've got a first blank. We'll move on to the second one. Each species has its special place or habitat. An expert bird watcher can look at dash forest. So it is the some certain. It is not certain. It is not some forest because he's just giving the example of all the different different things that we can find in nature. So it has to be a forest because here he's generally talking about all the things. It is we cannot use the because it's not a particular forest that he's talking about. It is a generalized concept. So that's why generalized we always use a. A. So the answer is C. A. Third blank. Okay, so let's read it from here. An expert bird watcher can look at a forest, meadow, lake, swamp, or field and dash almost exactly what birds. So here it should be uh, something that relates to the meaning finding because he finds almost exactly what birds he's looking for or something like that. That's what this entire sentence means. So it can be predict, it cannot be suggesting. He suggests almost exactly what. No, it's not prophecy, it's not calculator. So it's a very easy one. Predict forest, meadow, lake, swamp or field and predict almost exactly what birds. So this one is something that's properly suitable. So the answer is option A, predict. Let's look into blank 4. Okay, predict almost exactly what birds he find he dash find there. So here it should be something that's possible, something that shows the meaning of possibility. So proper answer is might because here if you see you need something that relates to hypothetical or some possibility. So we cannot use should, we cannot use must, we cannot use will because here it all the three words it shows that defined or destined. It is like sure. But here it is just a normal possibility. So that's why may suits the uh, answer. Blank 4 should be might. And yes, that's right. Others are directly just giving the conclusion that it is the final call. Should, must, will. But might is a possibility. So here we need a word which shows the possibility because that is connected with him predicting almost what kind of birds. So it's just a possibility. So the answer is might. Blank 5. Yes, so we were here. An expert bird watcher can look at a forest, meadow, lake, swamp, or field and predict almost exactly what birds he might find there. Dash birds are found all over the world. Others dash themselves to certain areas. So they are talking about some group of birds being found all over the world, and some will be just be kept in certain areas. So here I cannot use all, I cannot use some more birds, I cannot use most birds, I have to use some birds. So just a group of birds out of 100%, maybe 50% are found all over the world. So it is some. Done. Now this is a connecting statement. So blank 6 also can be easily found out. So some birds are found all over the world. Others dash themselves to certain areas. So it's not keep themselves, not interest, not involve. It is confined. They just confined themselves to just be wandering around certain areas. So that's why the word confine. Right. Now moving on. Still, dash migrate from one country to another in dash in search of warmth and something. So still dash migrate. So again here we know that it is definitely not all because not all people will migrate from one country to another in search of warmth. So we don't say still few migrate. We don't say still some migrate. It should be some people or it should be represented with another word. So I think the answer is still others migrate, and yes, it's right. So still others, what they do is they migrate from one country to another in dash. So let's see what are the options that we've got for blank 8. So it's a season. So still others migrate from one country to another in dash in search of warmth. Okay, and then return in spring. So spring cannot be my answer. So warmth, you will not get it in summer, not in autumn. Warmth is something that you'll get in winter season. So the answer is winter. So some still others migrate from one country to another in winter in search of warmth and something. So what else will be good in winter season is something that we need to find. Let's see the options. Based on that we can choose. Not seeds, not crops, not fruit. I think it's food. Warmth and food. I think food will be more related than seeds or crops or fruit. So, yes, so it's food. Winter in search of warmth and food, and then return in spring. Dash the season is more favorable. So, the last blank that we have, let's see, while, until, after, when. So, we have got the answer when the season is more favorable. We'll not say while the season is more favorable. We'll just return to spring when the season is favorable to them. We'll not use while or until or after. It's just when. When the season is more favorable, people just return, and during spring season. So that's it about this particular passage. So moving on to the next passage. Do women leadership differently than men do? And if so, will feminine leadership where leadership does not? A recent study suggests somewhat paradoxically that female managers, they are male, even when the personal characteristics of both are very blank. Of the two schools of thought, the structuralist theory argues that men and women do not receive the same treatment in workplace and that stamping out bias would stamp out the observed. In contrast, the socialization theory that contends that men and women experience work differently because men see work as more to their lives. These explanations apart, today business appears to be undergoing feminization of leadership. So it is about relating to men and women in workplace. So I think that that heading will suit this paragraph very well. They're just talking about all the inequality that's been happening in the workplace for men and women. Women being not being in this managerial positions, only men are just apply for all these roles. So we're just talking about gender bias in the workplace. So let's see how to fill all these blanks. So the first one: do women dash leadership differently than men do? Is it exercise or undertake or authorize or empower? So they're just talking about women leadership versus men leadership. Do women dash leadership? Do women do something more than a man do? So I think it's undertake. So do women undertake leadership differently than men do? How is how both these genders, men, how this men leadership works and how does women leadership works? So that's why it's just a question that they're asking, that does women take this leadership differently than the men do? So that's why it is undertake and not exercise, not authorize, not empower. So we have completed the question. So next we do have another part. And if so, will feminine leadership dash where dash leadership does not? So I think this blank is somewhere related to talking about male leadership. Maybe that's we'll get to know once we see the options. And I think here, and if so, like if women are really taking or undertaking leadership very much differently than men, then will their leadership not affect, not complete, not progress? Will their leadership succeed? Because that's the word that properly suits comparing to this particular statement over here. So, and if so, will feminine leadership succeed where not traditional, not charismatic, not benevolent, it is masculine. So, masculine leadership does not, relating to the leadership of a men. So, that's the correct answer. Option C, masculine. Now, moving on, a recent study suggests somewhat paradoxically that female managers dash their male dash even when the personal characteristics of both are very another blank. So, all these three words are related to each other. So, let's solve it together. A recent study suggests, somewhat paradoxically, that female managers dash their male. So it's not outlive their male, outcast their male, outwork their male. I think it's outdo, because that's what the study says. Maybe the female managers do a lot or contribute to a lot than the actual male managers. Maybe that's what they're trying to say from this recent study. So I think it's outdo and it's right. So, a recent study suggests somewhat paradoxically that female managers outdo their male. We'll see the next options. Is it employees, it is subordinates, superiors, counterparts? I think counterpart suits this very much because it is not employees or it is not subordinates or superiors. So these are just roles and all are almost equal. I think it is counterparts because it is related to a person or a thing who corresponds to the similar kind of a job or situation that the other person is compared to. So that suits this word male counterparts, that really suits this place. And looking for the answer, yes, it's right. Moving on to the sixth blank. Even when, so here they're saying female managers, they outdo their male counterparts even when their personal characteristics of both are very the meaning that we get from the context, we should get something normal or similar, and we have got the option that is option D, similar. It's not unique or distinct or minimal, because they're saying that, recent study says that female do take this, managerial role very seriously, or they contribute more than compared to how much does a male contribute, even when, this is the key word, even when both men and women have the same kind of characteristics. So that is definitely here. Definitely we need to use something like similar or any synonym of similar. So that's done. Seventh one, of the two schools of thought, the structuralist theory argues that men and women do not receive the same treatment in workplace, and that's stamping out dash bias. So, the meaning of the sentence, I hope you have understood. So, there are two schools of thought, whether it is men who's doing better or it's women, and there is a structuralist theory which says that men and women do not receive same treatment. Obviously, there is some inequality that's been observed in the workplace, and that is stamping out dash bias. So it's not employment bias, not culture, not class. It is simple as that, gender bias. And yes, that's the answer. So eighth is also connected. So we'll see. They do not receive same treatment in workplace, and that stamping out gender bias would stamp out the observed discriminations. It's not variations, it's not resemblance. Obviously, we are not looking for the similar word. It's not distortion, it is discrimination. There's various discrimination that's been observed only on the basis of gender bias in workplace. Moving on, ninth blank. Okay, in contrast. So, in contrast means whatever they meant earlier, now it is just the opposite of that. The socialization theory. Now, there is another theory that contends that men and women experience work differently because men see work as more dash. So, how does men actually work? They see work as needy. That's the wrong answer. They don't see work as desperate. They don't see it as trivial, they see it as central. Central means they see work as something that's essential to their life. So that's what they mean by central to their lives. Done. So blank 9 is done. The last one, these dash explanations apart, today business appears to be undergoing feminization of leadership. So, firstly, we talked about study, and then we talked about structuralized theory, where they talk about supporting female part, and then we talked about socialization theory, where they are saying that men see work more of essential to their lives. So a very contradicting statement, because there are something that's supporting women in workplace and there is something that's supporting men in workplace. So it's not corresponding explanation, it's not discriminating explanation, it's not identical, because definitely they're not talking that both are same, and it is definitely contradictory explanations. Even though, even keeping all this contradictory explanation aside, today business appears to be an undergoing feminization of leadership. So that's the correct answer, option A, contradictory. And this is the end of the passage too. So I hope you have understood these two passages, and please practice more and more of passage solving closed test, because I think that that will lead you to greater practice always leads for good results. So I think you just have to practice these more, or else the passages that you get in the aptitude or any kind of examination where closed test is there is very easy. So please practice, and thank you for watching.